A man died and went to heaven. St. Peter says to him, "Before you meet with God, I should tell you, we've looked over your life, and to be honest, you really didn't do anything particularly good or bad. We're not really sure what to do with you. Can you tell us anything you did that can help us make a decision?" The newly arrived soul thought for a moment and replied, "Yeah. Once whilst out driving, I came upon a little old lady being harassed by a group of thugs. I pulled over, went up to the leader of the thugs. He was a big, muscular guy with a ring pierced through his lip. Well, I tore the ring out of his lip and told him he and his gang had better stop bothering this lady, or they would have to deal with me." "Wow, that's impressive. When did this happen?" asked St. Peter. "About 3 minutes ago," came the reply. Carl is in the 10th year of a life sentence when he gets a new cellmate, Jim. After taking some time to size Jim up and decide that he can trust him, Carl tells Jim about his plan to escape. "You see," Carl says, "for the first 5 years I was inside, I trained my digestive system to follow my command. Now I can eat something and it comes out broken down into its components." Jim is skeptical, but intrigued. Carl continues. "For the last 5 years, I've been swallowing pieces off my uniform. It's perfect, because the guards just think it's rats chewing on it." So Jim asks, "Well, what does that have to do with me? How can I help?" Carl says, "Well, the pieces of fabric come out as individual fibers. I figure by this time next year we'll have enough to fashion enough rope to get over the wall. I just need you to tie the fibers." Jim, disgusted, says, "You have got to be kidding me." And Carl says, "I shit you not." While inspecting their honeymoon suite, the bride discovers a little box attached to the bed. "What's this for?" she asks her husband. "If you put a quarter in," he says, reaching into his pocket. The bed starts vibrating. "Save your money," she says. "When you're a quarter in, I start vibrating." A lady says to the psychiatrist, "I think I might be a nymphomaniac." He says, "I'll see what I can do to help you. My fee is $80 an hour." She says, "How much for all night?" A husband comes downstairs to find a note on the fridge. The note is from his wife. It says, "I've made a huge mistake. This isn't working. I'm sorry." Immediately, the husband runs upstairs and packs his suitcase. He drives straight to the airport and books the next flight to Vegas. On the plane, the flight attendant asks, "What brings you to Vegas?" He answers, "My wife left me, so I'm finally free to do what I've always wanted to do." Once in Vegas, he heads straight for the casino. He gambles, drinks, orders round after round for the other patrons, and partakes of a few ladies of the night. Finally, after a long night of drunken debauchery, he heads back to his hotel room to pass out. Suddenly, his phone rings. It's his wife. She says, "Where are you? Why are you out so late?" He says, "I don't have to tell you anything, bitch." She pauses in shock for a minute. She says, "Look, there's no need for name-calling. I already apologize for breaking the fridge. When do you think you can fix it?" The police sergeant pulls up to a house surrounded by flashing lights and officers. An officer approaches and says, "Sarge, the woman inside killed her husband for tracking mud on the floor right after she mopped it." The sergeant asks, "Did you arrest her?" The officer replies, "Not yet, sir. We're waiting for the floor to dry." Two guys are on a subway. One shows the other a picture of his wife and says, "Isn't she beautiful?" The other says, "If you think she's beautiful, you should see my wife." "Is she a model?" the one asks. "Oh no." The other says, "She's an optician." A man decides to return to his Catholic roots. He decides he should start by going to confession. As he enters the confessional, he is surprised by what he sees. There is a large easy chair right next to the confession window. Next to the easy chair is a box of Cuban cigars and a bottle of Kentucky bourbon. Smooth jazz plays over a hidden Bluetooth speaker. Suddenly, the priest appears behind him. He asks the priest, "Wow, this is completely different than I remember." "That's because you're on the wrong side." A priest is driving along a country road when a trooper pulls him over. He immediately smells alcohol on the priest's breath and notices an empty wine bottle in the car. He says, "Have you been drinking?" "Just water," says the priest. The cop replies, Then why do I smell wine? The priest looks at the bottle and says, Good Lord, he's done it again.
A man comes to the doctor and asks for a vasectomy. What, a vasectomy right now? Asks the doctor, baffled. Yes, I'm a bit in a hurry. My wife is waiting. We want to go shopping and to the movies afterwards, and she found it a good idea to get a vasectomy first. The doctor shrugs and says, As you like it, come in then. Said and done. And when the man comes back to his wife, she's asking, All okay with you? Did it go well? Did it hurt? Not at all. The man replies, I had anesthesia, of course. What, anesthesia for a vaccination? The wife is confused. The man slaps his forehead and shouts, Vaccination!
Ma and Pa were two old hillbillies living out on a farm in the hills. One day, Pa discovered that the hole under the outhouse was full. Not sure what to do, he went inside and told Ma about the problem. Well, why don't you ask the young'un down the road? Ma suggested. He's a college graduate. He must know what to do. So Pa drove down to the neighbor's house and asked, Mr. College graduate, my outhouse hole's full, and I don't know what to do to empty it. The young man replied, Get yourself 2 sticks of dynamite, one with a short fuse and one with a long fuse. Place them under the outhouse and light them both at the same time. The first one will shoot the outhouse up in the air, and while it's in the air, the second one will go off, spreading the mess all over your land. The outhouse will then come back down right on top of the empty hole. Pa thanked the young man and headed to the hardware store, where he bought 2 sticks of dynamite, one with a short fuse and one with a long fuse. He returned home, placed the dynamite under the outhouse, and lit the fuses. Then, he ran behind a nearby tree to take cover. Just then, Ma came running out of the house and into the outhouse. The first stick of dynamite went off, sending the outhouse flying into the air. Boom! The second stick went off and poop sprayed across the entire farm. Wham! The outhouse came crashing back down, landing squarely on the hole. Pa rushed to the outhouse, threw open the door, and asked, Ma, are you all right? As she pulled up her panties, Ma replied, Yeah, but I sure am glad I didn't fart in the kitchen.